Ladies and gentlemen, today's lesson is on sales tax, sales tax, tip, gratuity, and we're going to do a couple questions with markup. So your note sheet, you can see, gets folded in half. This will get taped into your ISN. We're going to be working on page 65 and 66, putting information in our notebooks today. But first, you're going to take your notes on the note sheet, and then you can go over, and I brought some tape for us today. You can tape it into your book after. So, first thing to know is this. Sales tax is the extra amount you pay when you buy an item. It is a percent of the amount you spend. You guys know that of means to multiply. So, for our first example, you're going to buy a pair of $30 jeans. You're going to pay 8% sales tax. So the first thing we need to remember is how to convert 8% into a decimal. We're going to move away from the percent sign 2 places. So 0.08 is the decimal value that we're going to use to multiply against the cost of our jeans. So 0.08 times 30 is what you will type into your calculator. You're going to get $2.40. This is the amount of tax. This is the amount, $2.40 is the extra amount you are going to pay when you buy the jeans. So the total amount is when you take your $30 jeans and you add on the tax. When you have a receipt, you will see how the price of your items sometimes is called a subtotal, and then you'll have your tax added to that at the bottom of your receipt. So we have a total of $32.40 that will be our total amount that we will be paying for this pair of jeans because of the tax collected. Now, the other type of question you're going to practice today is when you have to find a tip, or sometimes it's called a gratuity. A tip or gratuity is the extra amount you give someone for a service. We talked about waiters and waitresses. They get a tip typically for their service in a restaurant. The tip is usually a percent of the total amount that you have paid, either for your meal or sometimes when you go get a haircut. The cost of the haircut, people will tip on top of the haircut if they're very happy with it. So here's an example where the bill at your restaurant is $45. You want to leave the waiter or waitress an 18% tip. So we're going to first change that to a decimal, and we're going to utilize the decimal 0.18, which is our 18%. And we need to find out what 18% of our bill is. So 18% times 45 is what we're calculating, and we get $3.60. So what this means is we are going to pay $3.60 extra to the waitress, I guess I have on this question. Okay, so $3.60 is the extra amount you're going to pay the waitress. So the total amount is that $45 bill plus the $3.60 that you're going to tip the waitress. So that gives you a total of $48.60. So again, we're using percents. We're finding the percent of the total amount, and we're adding that amount on top of our original bill because we want to give extra money for either a tip, for a gratuity, or in this case, for the sales tax to be paid. On the inside of your packet, you're going to notice that there's some practice questions, and your practice questions are going to take you through all kinds of examples. To get you started, I'm just going to use a clean sheet because my marker leaked through. To get you started, to calculate your tip, remember, you're going to take 20%, but you might want to change it to a decimal first, so 0.20. You're going to multiply by your total bill amount. And this calculation by itself gives you the amount of your tip. This time it's a much larger tip because we had a bill that was much larger and we have a percentage that's much larger. So I have an $11.60 tip. The total amount here, remember, is the amount that you're going to pay in all. So you're going to take your $58 bill and you're going to add on your tip of $11.60. So that gives a total of $69.60. So we have two calculations to make. The first one is based on your percentage of your bill, and your second one is where you total it together so that you know how much you're expected to pay. I'm going to pause the video. You should do so also. Try a couple of the practice problems and then come back and play it to check your answers. Okay, to check your answers, 18% converts to 0.18. You're taking 18% of your dinner bill, so you're multiplying. You're getting $7.74 for your tip. Your tip, remember, gets added to your dinner bill, so this should be $50.74. 7%, recall that you're moving it over 2 decimal places, so it requires a placeholder 0. Make sure you typed in 0.07 times 1,500. It is a large amount of tax that you're adding to this because our purchase price, remember, is a large amount. So the larger your purchase price, the larger the amount of tax you're going to pay. So your final bill is $1,605 for your computer. 2.9%, again, if we convert it to a decimal, is going to need a placeholder 0. So again, be sure you are typing in 0.029 times 46. It's only a $1.33 tax that gets added on, so your total bill is $47.33. Now, markup is something I mentioned before. It's also an extra amount added to an item, and usually a company will do this so they make sure they have a profit. Maybe they bought the bicycle secondhand and they want to make sure they make money on it, so they want a 24% profit or markup. So you're still going to calculate the percentage the same way. You're going to change 24% to a decimal. 0.24 is going to multiply against the 270, and you can see that the markup amount is going to be $64.80. What this means is they're going to put a price tag on the bicycle, the amount they bought it for, plus the markup amount, and this is what they want to sell it so they have a sizable profit when they get done. Down here we have a painting that's quite expensive, and we want a large markup of 45%. So 0.45 times 450 is over a $200 markup. The $202.50 plus 450 gives you a price tag of $652.50. The last question wants you to go and just calculate sales tax. 5.75%, remember when you change it to a decimal, is 0.0575. You're going to multiply by the price of the chair, which is $178.99, and you're going to get a sales tax amount of $10.29. The question does not ask for the total this time, it just asks for the amount of sales tax that you're going to pay, which is $10.29. Now, the last part of your notes today is going to have you use your percent equation to calculate tax rate, and then we're going to look at what the tip was, and then we're going to look at what the percent markup is on these questions. So what I tried to do is give you an image of a receipt that somebody had from buying a gift pack and some awesome sauce, and their subtotals right here. You have a subtotal of $18.27, and you know the tax added to the bill is $1.83 for a total of $20.10. So the question here is, I want you to find the tax rate. Tax rate is the percentage rate that was used to tax the goods that you were buying. Typically in our area we have a 7% or an 8% tax rate depending on what you're buying. So the tax rate here may very well be similar, but we're going to use the percent equation to find it. So we need part equal to percent times whole. We know the part of tax that we're paying is $1.83. We know we're looking for the percent. And here's the only confusing part of this question. You're going to use the subtotal of $18.27 because you're only going to pay tax on the products that you buy. The tax will get added to the $1.83 to give you the total that you're going to pay. But for our calculations, you're going to use $18.27. We have to divide by $18.27 to get P by itself. So $1.83 divided by our $18.27, it is 0.100164204. We're going to round this off to approximately 0.10, which remember is 10%. So the tax rate for this question is roughly 10% of the item price that you're buying. Now, for the tip, we know that the tip is $3.75. We know that the total on the bill for their food and drinks adds up to $25. So again, we're going to use our percent equation. Part equals percent times whole. The part that they're leaving for a tip is $3.75. We're looking for our percent, and we know the total bill is $25. So again, we're going to divide so we can get P by itself. 3.75 divided by 25 is 0.15. This one does not need any rounding. It's exactly 15% for the tip. Now, the last one shows an image of where an energy drink has been marked up. The cost of the materials going into the drink is $1. The manufacturer charges $2.50. They send it to the distributor, who will charge $3. And then, of course, when it goes on the shelf in the grocery store, it's going to be priced at $3.50. That's what it means to have a retail price. So the percent equation that we're going to use again, part equals percent times whole. The part that the materials is $1. We're looking for the percent of the whole amount that they are going to charge. Sorry, the percent markup from the cost of materials to the retail price. This should be $3.50. This should be $1 because it only costs $1 to make, and because it has been marked up, we want to make sure, let me write this neater, $3.50 is the price at the store times the $1 that we pay for it. When you divide by that $1, you're getting 3.5. And this seems like a strange amount, but remember, they're marking this up 3.5 times the amount that it costs them to actually make. So your markup is huge. It should be 350%. And that's what we have to be careful, is making sure we put our values in the right place. So now what you're going to do is you can come over with your note